I pray for money, no debt, no pray for honey. Said she love to stand, new Ferrari, now she likes sitting. Shawty shaking ass, so she likes in it. I pray for money, no debt, no pray for honey. Free my soul, make you dance, make you be like Boro. I make you dance for you go for this.
Hey guys, my name is Anush from the Five Sages, as you all know. So, the reason why we've individually decided to speak about our mind is because both of us, Fadil and I, have two different perspectives on ways of life, I would say. I look at things on a more monetary level because I understand that money is a game. And I'll take you through how I've developed this mindset as well because it's not something that I just woke up with. I was just a regular guy going to his 9 to 5, still do, but then there's different mindset shifts that's enabled me to change the way I think. And number one, I'll tell you guys about my story, my journey, how did I start, where I am right now. And you can take whatever valuable information that comes out of this, whatever doesn't resonate with you, it's fine, you can leave it. But yeah, so I would say my journey began in 2020 when I got an internship in a company in Dubai, got an opportunity to learn about distributorship for FMCG products. These are fast moving consumer items that you see in your local supermarket. You have chips, food items, non food items. So I started off as an intern, and the one thing that I learned or developed over there was use the company's resources to sharpen your skills and understand how to move up in the ladder because that's where most of the information lies. The way for you as a person to be successful or define what success is to yourself, you need to understand what are you working for. So throughout my time in my internship in my work, I was pretty successful over there because that's what I define success. I got two promotions in the span of 1.5 year. So I would define that as success to myself because I only compete with myself of who I was last year. I don't compete with others because everyone has their own journey. And along the journey, what I realized was I've been really motivated to go look out for the next promotion, the next salary hike. But what is it all for? What am I working for? And that's when COVID hit. And when COVID hit in March 2020, what I decided to do was try to see, okay, during this lockdown, when I am still working for the company, I have my internship, what else can I learn? And that's when I went and found out drop shipping. I understood you can make money online through e-commerce, and this is what got me thinking, okay, fine. If you can make money in the physical world and you can make money in the digital world, there is a shift of technology that exists. And that's what made me start questioning a lot of things. Number one, I jumped into a deep rabbit hole on money because I started to understand why am I working for money? What is the objective of it? Because I kept thinking if I was successful, I would do this. If I had money, I would do this. But why do I need money to do certain items? And then I started backtracking. The biggest thing that I did was learn about history because history really matters because humans have been around for a long time, and technology such as phones, devices, banking, everything's only been very recent. I would say upward of 20 years. So 20, like 40 years ago, how did people still move money around? How were people doing business deals? How were people billionaires? And at the end of the day, between two humans, the only difference right now is status symbol. Other than that, you have the male species and you have the female species. So going into this rabbit hole about what money is, how is it important, I started to think, okay, it all started with barter system because this is what we learned in school. And barter system was a form of commerce that basically meant if I had 100 cows and Fadila had um, the skill of making a house, for example, I would come and tell him, you know what, why don't you build me a house? I will give you 10 cows for that. And this was how trade was in the past. Like nobody can say no because this is how trade was until humans developed a new way of doing trade in an easier way. Because if I could only trade my cows for something, what if somebody didn't want my cows? What if they wanted pigeons? Then I have to go find someone who has pigeons, trade my cows for his pigeons, come back and give Fadil pigeons. So it's a big of a mess, and that was the biggest limitation of the barter system. And these are things that I learned by consuming a lot of content on the internet, sharpening my skills, learning through a lot of life lessons, and understanding and applying these in my daily life. So I always have this theory that I always tell my friends, that is, if you're ever stuck in a situation, put yourself on a lonely island or put yourself on an island with another person and think, is that a problem? If it's still a problem, that means you need to think further on it. If it's not a problem, then you realize that it's only the outer world materialistic things that are really defining what you're thinking. So now, when we talk about barter system being an issue, how did we solve that as humans? We solved it by mining gold coins and silver coins and then saying we will give value to these coins based on what we want. And you need to keep in mind that all of these trade that were happening in coins were all privatized. That means me as an individual, I can go out there, find steel, make it into a coin, and I have coins then. I don't have to go to a bank to get anything. There's no such thing as a bank. It was privatized. And the way how the entire world shifted is when economy or commerce became centralized. Centralized is when one entity owns full control over the supply of the value. So let's take, for example, when banks came into existence, roughly 1912 or 1913. That's when the central banks came into existence. What they did was they said, we will decide how much US dollars have to be printed into the economy, and then people have to take that money and rotate. So another thing that I always tell people is understand what the term money flow is. If you want to be rich, you need to understand what money flow is. If you want to be wealthy, you need to understand how to invest your money in the right way where you make money. So now, when we get into banks, because these are the guys that control the world, and a lot of perception around the world talks about, you shouldn't take a loan from a bank because they perceive it in a negative format. And this is how I also perceive the world. I was just another regular person. I'm not saying I'm extraordinary right now, but I'm still the same regular person, just with different principles and different mindsets that's allowed me to be free from the thought of money. I don't let money take control over me. I don't go chasing money. Money comes to me because I position myself in situations where positive opportunities of wealth and of money happens around me. Now, when we talk about banks, what their let me just tell you what their current role in society is supposed to be versus what they actually do, so you get a brief understanding on why it really boggles me about how banks control the world. What banks are supposed to do is they are supposed to just store your money in terms of security and be paid a certain fee for that. For example, in the past, before the digital era, everyone would be having cash. I cannot keep $10 million of cash in my house. Of course, I can, but there's risks to it. I could get robbed, my house could go on fire, and I would lose all of my wealth at that point. So then, what banks have done is they said, we will store the money for you. And I just want you to picture all of this in a story. You have, like, I'm just narrating a story to you. A banker comes and tells you, hey, Anush, I will store your money with me, $100,000 of your money, and they will keep it with them. And now, what the banker does is he goes to the second person and tells them, hey, listen, I can loan you out $1 million. But where is that $1 million coming from? This is where fractional reserve banking is a term that they use. What it basically implies is that if a person deposits $100,000 with a bank, the bank can lend up to 10 times that amount to the second person. But the money is coming from thin air. And this is where the entire system goes into fail, because you've basically created a system where you are printing 10 times more than what you actually have. They have that saying that says, do not cut more from, like, cut within your cloth. That's a saying that we had growing up. Cut within your cloth means live between your means. But why does the bank print out more than they actually have? It's because they control the world. It's very simple. So when it came to that form, I started to understand, okay, fine. What are the different types of commerce? So you have barter system, then you have coins, then you have cash, and then you have the new digital era. The digital era is where things have changed. The digital era is what's enabled banks to remove the form of cash from the system, where they don't have to actually print physical cash, but all they have to do is hit a button on their screen and print digital money. And this becomes a bigger problem because you don't keep track of it. Number one, who keeps track of it? Does anybody else have access to the financial statements of the US government to keep track of it? Even if they do, how much of it is actually true information? So that's where the next step comes in, where you as a person need to understand what is the difference between the concept of centralization and decentralization. Banks are centralized because they own all the information. For example, HSBC Bank, they own all the information of every transaction that is being done through the HSBC network. That is, if I transfer money from myself to another person from my HSBC bank, HSBC owns that information. No other person can see that information. And few limitations that are there with that I have with banks is, and these are all life situations that have happened. I've gone to the bank and I've told them like, can I withdraw $100,000? What they have told me is, why do you need it? So I was a bit mind boggled by it. Like, are you asking me why do I need my own money? And that's what brought me to the entire equation when I drove myself back home and I was like, this sucks. Like, what's the point of making a lot of money if you cannot withdraw it? If someone has to question you, I mean, that is my money. And I get it, for security purpose, someone could be like, someone could defraud the bank and say that they are me and they could go and ask for it. But that's aside from the case, because I myself have gone to the bank and requested for my money. When this came apart, started to do some research and understand, how do I make sure whatever money I have is within my control and nobody else can control it? So I stumbled across Bitcoin. What is Bitcoin? Because I know this is on everyone's mind. Like, what is Bitcoin? Is it a scam? People keep talking about Bitcoin going to zero. Number one thing you need to understand is Bitcoin is just another asset like gold, like silver, like real estate, like stocks, like mutual funds. It's just another asset that we have given value to. But I'll take you in depth if you're really keen to knowing what is Bitcoin, how did it start. I can try to explain it to you like as if you're a 5-year-old. I want you to compare two sides of the world. One side of the world that has Apple, Google, and Microsoft. These three basically own the internet space because every application, every device you use, just look around you, take your nearest device. You have your iPhone, you have your Samsung phone, you have a laptop. Everything is running on an operating software that is owned by these three companies, that is Apple, Google, and Microsoft. When you think about it from this angle, you realize that every transaction that is being done on these networks or on these operating softwares are all private information. All of this is owned by Apple, by Google, by Microsoft. The reason why it's important is they want to keep your data with them so that they can retarget ads to you, they can sell you different items. This is how the economy keeps going. This is what I talk about, money flow. You have to find a way to move money as quick as possible. The way to keep moving money is you need to keep sending people a reason to buy stuff. And this is how banks control the world, because banks are the ones that's printing money. When money comes into the economy, they have to figure out how quickly can we circulate this money so that people can come and borrow more money from us. A bank's business model is very simple. They just want people to borrow money from them at a certain interest rate because they make their money just from lending out money that they print. So when we look at these three companies, all the data is private. That's when I took a look at Bitcoin and I tried to understand what is Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a piece of invention that was started in 2008 that basically stated that any transaction that happened on the Bitcoin network was put into a public ledger. A ledger, for all of you that don't know, a ledger is a book that records transactions. People who are in the finance industry definitely knows what a ledger is. So Apple, Google, and Microsoft have private ledgers where every transaction from person A to person B recorded with IP addresses are tracked on that. But Bitcoin is another network. It's like another website. It's another internet facility that we use to transfer Bitcoin from one person to the other. But every single transaction of Bitcoin that is done is recorded in a public ledger so that people all around the world can access and see who's transferred money to who. But it's not in the form of your name, your address, your personal information. Each single person is identified with an alphanumeric code so that you keep your information private, but you can see where money is moving. The reason why I this caught my eye and I realized this is very important is number one, if I'm part of an economy that is printing money, if I knew exactly where the money is moving to, it would allow me to know whether it's right for me to invest money in a certain place or no. And that's when years passed by. I was in Bitcoin for the past 5 years, and I started to realize what's very important is self custody. I need ownership of my money. If I go to the bank and tell them I need $100,000 loan, not loan, if I need to withdraw $100,000 and they're going to question me on it, that's not a good way to live life. Like, that means the bank has enough of power to cut my funding tomorrow. They could wake up tomorrow and say, we have a lockdown. So after 10 o'clock, nobody is allowed to access their bank. This is how they can keep control of the economy. This is how banks control people, because they decide whether or not you can use your money. So if you have money in the bank, it's not actually yours. It is owned by the bank, because tomorrow they could pull the plug and you don't have any access to your wealth. This is the difference between wealthy people, middle class, and poor people. Wealthy people, what they do is when they make money, they go and invest it into an asset which they fully own, that the banks or the governments cannot take from them. Number one thing, I can tell you the closest thing to these things are like real estate, cash flowing businesses. But the biggest thing from all of these that I understood was Bitcoin in terms of comparing it with other assets. For those of you that have been in markets for so long, that have invested in different assets, I just want you to like think and compare. Let's compare Bitcoin versus gold. If you have $100,000 in gold, you have physical gold, $100,000, you're not going to be able to travel across the country, travel to any other country and take that along with you. But if you have $100,000 in Bitcoin, it's stored on your mobile, you can travel across the world. You can convert your Bitcoin into US dollars and use it as a transaction. So let me rewind and explain how this works. In the real world, in the physical world that we have, we use US dollar as a common denominator, the US dollar note as a common denominator, to convert it into whichever currency we want to perform commerce that we have in the real world. On the crypto world, or in the Bitcoin world, the US dollar is equivalent to USDT, that is Tether. USDT is the US dollar on the Bitcoin world. So what happens is, step number one, you have to move money from the real world into crypto world, that is converting your US dollars to USDT, that is either through your exchanges like Binance, Kraken, Coinbase, or KuCoin, or another thing that I do personally, which is I help people move money from the real world into crypto. The reason why is I always inform people that Bitcoin is one of the best investments you can make. If you as a person have just one Bitcoin right now, within the next 10 to 15 years, you would have generational wealth that you've never seen before. You could have generational wealth that could alter your reality, change the course that your future family wants to live. And the reason why I state this is very important is you need to have control over your wealth. Bitcoin is very important because you can travel with Bitcoin from one part of the world to the other, and applications are being built where you can easily convert Bitcoin into USDT, as I mentioned, and you can use USDT in day to day life. Like the same example, you go out shopping to a mall, you buy a certain item, a handbag. The next thing, you have to go to the cashier, you have to pay for it. You have two options to pay. Either you pay using your credit card or your debit card, or I've constantly mentioned before, you have this application called Re.Pay. Re.Pay basically allows you to convert your USDT into US dollars so that you can use it as a debit card and pay for items all across the world. It's like a regular card. You can get a virtual card that you can sync to your Apple Pay, or you can request for a physical card that you can use it as well. Me personally, I have been living the past 6 months only on crypto money. Whatever money I make on crypto, I transfer it to my account on Re.Pay and I use it. And for people that are looking out there on which is the best sort of investment that you could make when you look at historic data, because I always look at data. In terms of historic data, it's always important to see what kind of growth have you seen across different asset classes. Bitcoin has been the best performing asset because when you compare different assets, The key denominators are supply and demand. When you look at gold, nobody knows what's the final supply of gold. If tomorrow I shovel a hole in my backyard and I find a gold nugget there, that's an additional gold supply being put into the economy. But the concept of real estate, there's a lot of barren land out there. If a developer decides they want to go out there and make and develop a few more houses, that's additional supply that comes into the economy. Compare it with Bitcoin. Bitcoin only has 21 million coins. That basically states that even if everyone wanted to get one coin, only 21 million people can own one coin per person. That would take the price. It's very hard to tell what's any price predictions. I'm not going to give any predictions because I don't want to be held accountable for these. But you can just look at historic data and see the performance of this. And a regular person like myself, like, because I need to compare and tell you guys like what I do, what's my background into this, why should you trust what I'm saying, why is my information valuable. So to give you a bit more perspective, I currently have multiple business ventures where one of them is a digital marketing agency where we help scale and grow brands on the digital network. The reason why we decided to start a digital marketing agency is because I understood that in the real world, physical businesses open and they need marketing to increase their sales. The same thing on a digital world. If you have a business that is listed on the digital platforms, and you don't have the right tools to reach the right people, you're going to be burning money, you're going to be lost, you don't know what to do. But what we wanted to do is find the easiest solution. I want to be the preferred partner for a lot of e-commerce businesses to help them scale, to help them grow, to help them realize that you don't have to do things from A to Z. You could just do the right things needed for your business model, which is some things a lot of people don't emphasize on. So, a digital marketing agency is one of my businesses. The second business that I have is I look to inspire traditional investors, that is the previous generation, like my parents and their friends, families. I try to inspire them to invest into the digital age, that is, invest into Bitcoin because it is the best investment. It is the best investment because you have a limited supply that will be mined across a certain number of time, and eventually across time there will be one Bitcoin that will be left to mine, which will be mined across 100 years. So when you think about everything, I help people move money from the real world into crypto world. And of course, the way I operate my business is I charge a fee for it. But you might ask, why do I charge a fee? I want to help people for free. Yes, I do help people for free, which is just advising them only to buy Bitcoin, and I help them how do they do it. But the reason why I charge certain people a percentage is because with my knowledge, it's taken a while to get me to where I am with my knowledge. The reason why I'm able to guarantee people 300, 400% returns. The example I can give you is I did a test run last year, November. I invested $9,000 in crypto. In November 2023, I invested $9,000 in crypto. And in April 2024, my $9,000 turned into $90,000. But this is just with one account that I did as a test. I have been holding crypto for a very long time and I've just been accumulating Bitcoin over periods of years just to see how it plays out, because the goal for me is to accumulate more Bitcoin. And I'm never going to sell. I'm never going to sell my Bitcoin because no matter what anybody wants to do, I will never sell my Bitcoin at any given price today. The prices are like 74,000. No, I'm not interested for that. Maybe when Bitcoin goes up to 1 million, I would decide to sell because I would use that money to move it around, see if I can build other cash flowing businesses. So I've told you about two of my businesses. Now, the third one. The third one is a very interesting business because I understood how commerce is very important. It's not yet out there. It's currently in the works. Me and my business partner Karthik are working on this currently. We plan to start a a website, a marketplace where people can buy and sell companies. The reason why is we need to make people understand that the e-commerce world is not just not about making money, but it's also about multiplying and preserving wealth. And because I emphasize a lot on it, and my business partner as well, who's a very close friend of mine as well, he also emphasizes a lot on it. He has seen success in buying and flipping businesses. That's something that we will get him on a podcast one day, and you guys can definitely hear his story. But I always emphasize that multiplying wealth is very important. Having custody of your own wealth is very important. Owning your own money. So if you own Bitcoin, that is wealth that you own that nobody can ever take back from you. So whether this is the older generation, whether this is the new generation, all I can tell you is if you are working hard for money, you need to make sure your money is stored in a place where you have full access to it. Nobody can steal it from you, nobody can cut it from under you. When we look at the stock market, because a lot of people have asked me, do I invest in the stock market? Number one, I used to. I used to invest in the stock market, but that is only by buying Tesla stock. But then I stopped investing in the stock market after I understood a couple of things. The stock market is pure manipulation. The stock market performs only from 9 to 5 in the US, or which other other countries are there, versus the crypto market that is functioning 24/7. And when I looked at the stock market, I realized even though I go and buy a Tesla stock, I don't actually own a share in Tesla. It's just a imaginary stock that is there on a brokerage. So even if I own Tesla stock, which is 260 stocks, for example, I'll give you an example. Let's say I own $10,000 in Tesla. My shares are on a brokerage account. The brokerage account is another company that acts like a bank, like holding my shares. I don't have full custody over it. The brokerage can wake up one day and say, you know what, we don't want to give you your money now. What can I do? Like in cases of a civil war, I can't go after them in the US and say, oh, give me my shares and everything. I don't have voting power. Maybe yes, what Elon has done with Tesla is he's given people a lot of voting power. He involves people a lot in business decisions. But in reality, I have no information, or I don't have any say on how the company is going to operate based on me investing in the stock. Yes, at the end of the day, it is speculation. A lot of people invest in the stock markets because it is sentiment, it's human psychology. You buy when it's low, and when the economy picks up, people look for ways to invest their money to make more money. So you rope them into the stock market by convincing them that this company will outperform these earnings, these companies will outperform this. So this is why you should get into the market early. But I don't get into stock markets purely because it's manipulated. And then again, I don't own anything. I'm a firm believer that anything I invest in, I need to have full custody of it. 95% of my wealth is in crypto and Bitcoin. But more than that, I don't. I don't suggest a lot of things to for people to go around and invest in multiple things. The only thing you should be investing money into is your mind. You need to be able to sharpen your skills, find out what's a skill that works for you. A story about me is I took a course on drop shipping. I learned everything about drop shipping from A to Z. I practiced it, but the problem for me was in 2020 when I started drop shipping and when I practiced it, I did not have the courage and discipline to stick to it. And that was my biggest mistake. So I had to go around to learn how do I discipline myself from everything. A big problem for me was alcohol, going out to party, going out, meeting new people. But then I realized if I spend time going out doing these certain events, I'm not getting time to spend sitting down and thinking about how do I make money, because that was on my mind. I really wanted a Rolex for myself, I wanted a Tesla. But I had to sit and spend time thinking about these things to get this for myself. So when it came to all of this, I told myself, you know what? I'm gonna take a break from alcohol, take a break from going out to clubs. I'm gonna relax, focus on my health, sharpen up my mind, work on my business. Came up with a lot of business ideas, and this is when something that I realized about me right now. I am I'm someone who can make money out of anything. That means not necessarily money. The way that I work in life is I'm always kind to people. Anyone around me, I'm always kind, I'm always nice. It's not for any opportunistic reason. It's just that I always believe in being nice to people because you don't know what the day comes, you don't know what tomorrow comes, you don't know what happens the day after. But what I do know is for every time I meet another human, I'm nice to them because it can open up significant number of doors just by being nice. And this is what's got me till here. And a big skill that I have been able to develop for myself is I'm able to think outside the box, and I'm able to come up with strategic solutions for every problem because I have freed up a lot of space in my mind to be in a flow state where I'm able to identify money flow. And I mentioned money flow before, but I'll explain to you what money flow is and how you can use this to your advantage. Money flow basically means identifying where is money flowing from the central bank to the local banks, to the local businesses, to the employees of the local businesses. Where do the employees shop and who are they buying from? Once you understand money flow, you'll be able to understand where can you position yourself to be able to take a small cut from. And this is how you as a successful person, this are what wealthy people do. They understand money flow, position themselves in the right way, and then when an opportunity presents themselves, they have the skills, they have the mindset, they have the caliber, they have the confidence to speak it. You need to have the confidence to speak and position yourself as a high network person, because I always emphasize on this. Your network is your net worth. If you have 10 people around you who are worth $100 million, you automatically are worth $1 billion because you have access to that network. I'm not saying in physical cash, but tomorrow, if you had an idea on how do you change the world and you have 10 people around you who have $100 million, you have access to $1 billion of network just to start your business if you are able to convince people who have money. So build your network, put yourself in positions where you can build your network. We have our podcast, we have the Telegram group. The Telegram group is a very interesting place where I emphasize a lot of people need to be more open, speak to each other, because you can conduct business like that. An example that I can give you is, we had one guy introduce himself on the group that said he has contacts in the stainless steel industry. Like myself, what I like to do is I like to incorporate myself in a lot of industries and a lot of businesses. I approach businessmen and I tell them, explain your business model to me. Let me see if I can get you a deal from somewhere. So I got an opportunity to work with a very renowned businessman in India. Successful. He has his own manufacturing plant. He's been doing it for a number of years. He's looking to expand into different other countries. The only thing that I can do for him is, I told him, I just need you to explain everything to me from start to finish like I'm a baby. He explained everything to me from start to finish, what his company does. What I was able to do is, I was able to just send one message on my Telegram community to my people saying, hey guys, this is something that I'm looking for. Do any of you have any contacts within these industries? A guy reached out to me saying, I have a contact in this industry. These are his terms. This is his price. If you can match his price, the deal is yours. Now, all I have to do is I have to go back to my manufacturer and give him all of these information and tell him, if you can match all of these prices, the deal is yours. You get additional business overseas. And what I get in the picture is, because I've connected two people. I always work on doing deals and connecting two people. Because I connect two people, I make my money in the middle. And this is what I say, it's a free way to live life. I like to live my life that way. And I'm not saying everyone needs to do it, but I just thought I would give you guys information. It's valuable information. Take what you can with it. Whatever you don't agree with, whatever you don't see eye to eye with, let it go. It's not something that you have to follow. But I'm a very interesting person. I would love to have open conversations with a lot of people. I have a lot of ideas on scaling different types of businesses, but I just like to sit, spend my time with my friends, spend my time with different other business partners, and brainstorm, come up with ideas. I like spending my time that way. I prefer being awake for 20 hours in a day if needed, as long as I'm working on something or the other that's it's not the cause of money, but it's a thrill that allows me to realize that this is the skill that I have. I like to use my skill for the betterment of the future, for making my own family. And this is what's allowed me to get peace of mind. Like, as a person in today's world, I have utter peace of mind just because I'm able to keep control of my thoughts. I don't let money overcome what I think. I don't let money perceive my reality. What I do is I perceive reality in the way that I want it to be. And I use money as a tool to access things. I use it as an access card to go here, to go there. And yeah, this is very short. I don't know if it's short, but to me, whatever came through my mind, I just want to be able to tell you guys about it because it's very important. It's my way of life, it's my perspective. And if there are people out there that would like to sit and have a conversation with me, I invite you. I invite you, please reach out to me. Let me know. We can have a conversation. If you're looking to move money from the real world into crypto, do reach out to me because I'm open to helping people out. I can create portfolios for you. I've created portfolios for over 10, 15 people as of right now, guaranteeing them 200% returns all the way up to 700% returns. Of course, that varies based on risks. I look at investments in terms of data. So if I would suggest something to you guys, it would be purely data based. And yeah, I think that's about it. It's been a pleasure talking to you guys. I would make this as a more common habit. The podcast is something that we would use to always invite guests, have people share their stories, help other people grow their personal brands, because this is what we do. We grow our personal brand, and it's not for the cause of selling something, it's not for the cause of making money, it's for the cause of growing our community and giving people a voice. Whether it's you're a man or you're a woman, giving people an opportunity to speak. A lot of people have a lot of information in their mind in terms of wealth, health, mindset, but they don't have a platform where they can speak openly. And this is why we started the podcast, The Five Sages, a group of five of us guys who never had an opportunity to do something in life. And then we finally came around to to having our own company as friends. But ups and downs are always there. But along the way, this is the part of life, this is the part of business. It's been officially 1 year since we've been in business, and I can say truthfully, it's been a learning experience. Everything I learn something new every single day. I learn something new from every single human every single day. So yeah, it's been a journey. We'll catch up soon, guys. Take care.